Hello, everyone, and welcome to our SAG predictions, our Screen Actors Guild Award predictions. We are recording these before the Golden Globes, so if someone crazy wins at the Golden Globes or something like that, and that might affect our predictions. Who knows? I don't think that'll change, but just a little heads up before we get into it. Also, SAG. Well, I'll introduce Anthony and let him give his overall thoughts. What are your overall thoughts heading into the SAG Awards, Anthony? Before we get into each category.
I think that Ensemble, like the rest of the season, is wide open. When it comes to the individual winners, I feel probably more strong about what's going to win SAG than I do any other acting awards at any of the other shows. So I'm really interested to get into this because we're definitely going to disagree.
I think we probably will. I agree. I think SAG Ensemble here is insane. I have no clue what is going to win. There are so many different options, and none of them really make sense or fit past winners. So we've got that. And also worth mentioning, SAG, Screen Actors Guild Award. The Screen Actors Guild is the hugest voting body. We'll have the entire award season. I think it's around 160,000 members. And it's not just actors. It's also got, for some reason, influencers. You've got podcasters. You've got a bunch of different people in this voting body. And they tend to lean populist, star power, and stuff that's on Netflix, stuff that's easily available, which is Netflix. So that is some stuff to keep in mind before we jump into it. But without further ado, do you want to jump into it?
Yes. So it's funny you just mentioned what they gravitate towards, because I feel like we have the apex of both those things. We have a very big, flashy Netflix project, and we have a very big, flashy Hollywood blockbuster. And what are they going to go for? So this is the thing, and this is a stat that we might have to do some researching as we talk. But when was the last time that a film won only one award, and that being Best Ensemble? That's what I think Emilia Perez has.
Black Panther.
Okay, that would be one. Also, Black Panther wasn't nominated for any of the individuals, so that'd be
different. Parasite win this as well?
Yeah, again, those I feel like have qualifiers because again, Hidden Figures would be the answer. Hidden Figures was the last time that there were individual nominees that they could have.
Encyclopedia.
Hidden Figures did, and that was a surprising win. And why was it a surprising win? Because people did not appreciate what it meant to be a big box office hit, which is why I'm going with Wicked.
SAG Ensemble, you are going with Wicked. I'm going elsewhere, but I'll let you begin since you've already stated it.
Well, listen, I think that Wicked is obviously doing very well. It had a 6% increase in its sixth weekend at the box office. I think everybody's falling in love with this movie. And I think SAG, would you agree that this is probably the best place that Wicked has to perform? Even if you have it this is the voting body that will probably this and Critics' Choice, I think, are going to be the ones that Wicked really shows its strength. I think this is a true ensemble. I mean, you look at, Jonathan Bailey, Jeff Goldblum, Michelle Yeoh. These are not performers that are going to get individual nominations, but they're great performances that I think people really acknowledge as a true ensemble. The degree of difficulty for, singing, dancing, acting, big, strong emotional performances is high. I think it is a movie like Black Panther that I think has just really just captured the heart of a lot of audiences. I think there are a lot of actors who love this source material and also came to it with fresh eyes and just fell in love with it. And I think my thing is I go for very broad things with SAG. That's why Netflix does very well with them, because Netflix is this broad streamer that is able to capture so many eyes on their project. And so I just think Wicked is going to be the one that most people are most excited to vote for. I think Emilia Perez could be polarizing. I think Anora could be polarizing. I also think Anora is a little small for the SAG to get behind for Ensemble. And then Conclave could. But the whole thing with Conclave, I think both of us have been talking about throughout the season is it big enough? Do people feel it's important enough to win these awards? Or at least with Wicked, I feel like there's an exciting factor of voting for it, the way that Parasite had, the way that Coda had, the way that Black Panther had. And so I'm going to go all in on Wicked because this is one of the few places I feel like I can do that and still, have some integrity to my predictions.
It's interesting here. I'm going obviously with Emilia Perez. It does have the Netflix factor, which does always help when it comes to these awards. It's already won. This film has always been treated since the start at Cannes as an ensemble, where it awarded all of the actresses in the film. It's got showy performances all around. And when it comes down to the two musicals, I think Emilia Perez is the stronger film. Definitely at the Oscars and at other awards bodies, I do think this is where Wicked, like you said, will be its strongest. in terms of the how much the voting body likes the film, because like you said, it is a more populist thing. But I think Emilia Perez is populist. It is divisive, but I don't know. I'm just looking at these. I think Honora could win, honestly, because if it just ends up being the sweeper that we thought it was maybe at the beginning of the season, or that could have been at the beginning of the season. It is a great ensemble. It's not like people are just like, oh, Mikey Madison, you got Idol Shine that people shout out, you got Borisov,
Karen
you got Kara Gulian, yeah, you've got Bashe Tomasov, I think is the other guy's name. It's a great comedy ensemble. So I think if Honora is simply that strong and it does just end up being a sweeper, it could win. Conclave, I'm iffy on Conclave just because I think it's got a good ensemble. I don't know, something about it doesn't fit SAG's vibe for me and the stuff that they tend to go
Well,
for.
I mean, Trial of Chicago 7 won.
That's
and so I think Conclave would be your
that would be the
film. I just think that there are movies that make sense to win. Marriage Story made sense to win, but it didn't.
Ensemble.
Yeah, you look at that ensemble. You look at, I mean, Scarlett
That seems like a two-hander to me personally.
Oh no, I mean, I think Laura Dern, Ray Liotta. I mean, the whole scene with Merritt Weaver, when they're trying to deliver the divorce papers to Charlie, and the sister's coming in and out, and the mother's like being her, her kooky self. Like, to me, that was a fantastic ensemble, and like that doesn't necessarily win, and that's what Honora and Conclave kind of feel like, great ensembles, but what are the SAG tends to go with things that are showy. They like to make a statement with their ensembles, I feel. And I think because it's the one top category that doesn't really have a corollary among the other awards. Like what wins Producers Guild, yeah, you can imagine voting for that is very similar to voting for a Best Picture. But I do think voting for a Best Ensemble is very different than voting for Best Picture. And I don't think they're a one-to-one comparison. So that's why I think Wicked does stand out in that regard, because it is a true ensemble. I mean, look, you call people in the theater when they're not have a lead role, you call them the ensemble for a reason.
Yeah. I do still think kind of similar to Marriage Story, though, even though it's a good ensemble, that is a two-hander film in my opinion. That is Grande and that is a Revo. Well, what's his name? Bailey's good in it. Mila's good in it. Goldblum's good in it. It's not. They're much smaller roles. I feel like when you think of that film, just like on the poster, there are two people who you think about, and I feel like when you think about Emilia Perez,
Emilia Perez,
three people you think about.
Three, maybe four.
Maybe four.
Like,
yeah.
And they might, I think we're going to have to get into the conversation. Is there anything else you want to say about SAG Ensemble? Because I feel like, does Carla get in?
I think we need to address what we have in that, or at least what I have in that fifth spot right now.
We agree, which is why I don't think
Okay, most people don't agree. I have a complete unknown in that fifth spot. It's doing great. And having seen the film, I think lots of people might be like, well, that's just a Demi vehicle. No, that is a very good ensemble all around. They're both concepts.
I think
the
same argument I was making about Wicked, as far as like these smaller players, they're not going to rise to the occasion individually. I think it's the same thing for Complete Unknown. I thought Elle Fanning, this might be my favorite performance of hers in a long time. Monica Barbaro, and Edward Norton, but he likely will get some featured time in some of these places. Boyd Holbrook was great. Scoot McNairy, with almost a mute role. I think that is a really great ensemble, and I think it's a popular hit right now, and it's getting eyes. It's doing well at the box office. So
I mentioned with this category and this voting body in general, populace being seen is important. With such a huge voting body, you need to be a movie that more people have seen, and a lot more people even just by the box office right now have seen A Complete Unknown than have seen Sing Sing. Sing Sing is going to missing here. It's really on the edge in terms of, especially if it misses ensemble here, making that Best Picture between that and A Real Pain. So I do have it missing here just because those top four I feel very good about. Maybe Honora could miss, but I feel like Honora is strong enough and still seen as enough of an ensemble that will get in there. And I feel like that fifth spot, if I'm looking at A Complete Unknown or Sing Sing, A Complete Unknown is a big box office hit, and it's an ensemble, and it's just simply going to be more seen.
I agree.
Which really appeals to actors, but it's just too small right now.
Yeah. The only thing that I will say just with your top 8 is I do think I would put A Real Pain above The Piano Lesson, because I do think that was a worthy ensemble.
Two-hander still to me. I feel like we disagree on what's two-hander.
The whole thing about the group, you got Will Sharp in there. You got the actress. I'm forgetting her name. I'll Google it and correct myself. But there you go. Thank you. So it's I think I think it's worth it's just more in the conversation than The Piano Lesson with that 8. But I mean, I could see a world where any of those movies other than The Piano Lesson gets in and takes a spot away. The Brutalist could overperform with every voting group and it could get in. If it does, be on the lookout for it's a clear front runner. If it doesn't, though, I also think you're going to see people being like, it's not a front runner. I don't think Brutalist getting in here is going to matter that much.
No, especially this. We mentioned it being populist, the less populist film, a more artsy film, and I do think that's the kind of film that it happens every year, like with Power of the Dog and stuff like that, where it gets acting nominations, but it doesn't get ensemble. So I think that can happen with The Brutalist as well. So yeah, we've already disagreed on the first category. I'm not confident in Emilia Perez. I don't know how confident you are in Wicked, so we'll see.
I think I'm more confident in Wicked than you are in Emilia Perez, but I don't.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That might be false confidence.
Yeah. Who knows? You guys comment what you have winning there, because that is a crazy category. I think we're going to disagree on most of the categories here, though. So let's move on.
I think we're going to agree on one.
I think we probably will.
Maybe on two. I think the men are going to be fine. You can imagine.
Yeah, probably. Actress, I'm just sticking with Mikey Madison for Nora, because I don't know if I really wanted to go out on a limb and do something, because I don't honestly still completely believe in Mikey Madison just like being a winner at the end of the day and sweeping. I could do Demi Moore, because I feel like that narrative really appeals to actors in particular. The Substance has been unexpectedly a more popular film that has made a ton of money and it's entered the like pop culture lexicon. Like there's a bunch of viral TikToks going around, or that were going around, about like celebrities and their younger versions of themselves in Substance, and that theme is all over the place. So it has entered the pop culture area that lots of these awards films haven't, that Anora really hasn't. I think The Substance is more known than Anora is right now. But I'm not willing to go fully on the limb for a performance like Demi Moore's, just winning SAG and then going on to the Oscars, even though I can potentially see it happening. I could see a Revo maybe happening. This is where she has the best shot alongside Critics' Choice, because like you said, this is Wicked's best place and it is a showy performance, and she's a previous nominee, I believe, for Harriet.
Yeah, and she was nominated for Genius Aretha in the television category. So she's beloved, which is why I have her at number one.
Her winning.
Okay. I do think this is her best chance. I've made this argument before, so I'll do a quick version of it. I think she's coming in here as one of the more well-respected figures. She's a Grammy, a Tony, an Emmy winner, and she wears that along her previous nominations. I think she managed to get into SAG. That was a big, her and Lupita Nyong'o for us that year. And this is kind of where she said, I want to be taken seriously as an actor, and she was. And I think she's remarkable in the film. The more times I've seen it, you can check my letterbox for how many times I have. I will not admit it here. I think she stays with me. It's a beautiful performance, and I think her and Demi Moore, I think, are really fighting it out for people who have been around the industry, who are waiting for this sort of chance for an award. Right now, I'm just feeling more confident in Cynthia Erivo than Demi Moore for a win, just because I think Demi Moore, like, I still think it's a question of whether she gets in. The Substance would be a bold thing.
You all right?
Yes.
Oh, hello. To leave this in.
I still think I have doubts whether Demi Moore will get in. I mean, I think Nicole Kidman and Amy Adams are so beloved within SAG that I think you have to give them more serious contention here than anywhere else. But I also, right now, I don't have them in there. So yeah, I just think that Cynthia Erivo, if Wicked is going to be as strong as I think it is among SAG, I think she is so well regarded. It is a beautiful performance. It has a high degree of difficulty with her singing, the acting, the dancing, the flying around on a harness. And the same argument goes with Mikey Madison that I've been saying the whole time. I just wonder whether, for an actor so young, they're going to just jump into her court so quickly.
Actors in particular, don't you think actors would kind of be like, well, you're new here. Like, are we going to give it to you on your first try?
Maybe. I mean, again, it's a narrative. I'm waiting to see how it plays out. I just think when I look at this, if I take the movies away, Cynthia Erivo makes a lot of sense. And I'm just going to go with it, given that, again, Wicked is so strong here.
Yeah, agreed. I feel like that top four is pretty solid in my opinion. I do think Demi Moore is going to get up in there, because it is, like I said, it's a film that is doing good and is widely seen. And it's a great narrative that I think appeals to actors, kind of like a Brendan Fraser narrative. That I feel like that's enough for her to get in there. And then Carla Sofia Gascon, I think she'll probably just get in there because it's Emilia Perez. That's widely seen, and it's a showy performance. Could end up missing because she's not like a star, but I feel like the film is strong enough overall that she'll still get in. Jolie for Maria, I'm not confident at all. When I look at the factors here, the fact that it's got Angelina Jolie's star power, then it's got Netflix, which Netflix always gets extra acting nominations here that don't translate to the Oscar. Jolie might or might not. So I feel like she'll
Didn't
probably
Kristen
get in
Stewart
here.
miss?
Kirsten Stewart did miss. Jackie. Portman did get in for Jackie, but I feel like Kristen Stewart didn't have the Netflix or star power factor in her. Like that's what appeals to SAG, which is helping Jolie here. Which when you look at the next slide, are other people here. Kidman has the star power thing. She doesn't have the Netflix thing, and Baby Girl's not a huge box office.
Honestly, watch Zendaya sneak in. I think that's more likely than not.
I feel like lots of people have forgotten about that film, but she's definitely, this is her best shot.
What? She was nominated for the Golden Globe. You know, it's been popping up on, you know, certain areas among the guilds and the shortlist. I think that is I think let's put it this way. I think she has a better chance with this than she ever did with Malcolm and Marie.
Oh, for sure. I agree with that. But when you look at, I feel like it's really the top 7 in my opinion. And you look at Kidman and Adams, I feel like both of them have a shot, and both of them are beloved by SAG. Like both of them have, I think Kidman has like 15 nominations altogether, and Amy Adams gotten for Hillbilly Elegy, so they clearly like her. So they both overperform and do better at SAG than they do at other awards bodies. But I just looking at the two films and comparing them to Jolie and Maria, I feel like there's just slightly more stuff going in Jolie's favor that isn't going in either of these films' favor. Night Bitch is underseen, didn't got seen in theaters. It's going to hit Hulu soon. And I just feel like it's still a divisive film. And then Baby Girl, like I said, it's not doing great at the box office, and it's those last minute December releases do struggle with SAG in particular. Like I don't think Florence Pugh got in for Little Women. So releasing late doesn't help you at all.
Well, it's just that the screeners don't make it out to the nominating committee in time. And also we always say that to see a movie in theaters helps. That's why a lot of times the movies that are big hits do better. You know, because there's an energy that the voters respond to. And so it's good if your movie's, you know, a November release like Wicked.
Or I don't feel comfortable about like Medicine to November. An October release like Anora.
Or September, that's more.
Is this your Oscar 5 right here?
No.
This is most people's Oscar 5 and SAG 5. And I just feel like that rarely happens in actors in particular. So I feel like this is SAG 5, but you got to drop one of these for the Oscars, in my opinion. I would drop Jolie for Baptiste, probably.
Maybe. I feel good about the top 4.
Those 4 feel good.
I took Nicole Kidman off when I said I liked Baby Girl, but as soon as it was done, it's like, okay, she's off. She's gone.
Yeah, I think that was more kind of I think it's still one of my favorite performances of the year. So that may have been hope dictating for me. And I thought it was going to do better at the box office. I thought there was just going to be more talk about it than there is right now. So all that's really in our favor is the Nicole Kidman factor, which is still a big factor.
Let's jump to actor, because I think we are going to agree on the number 1.
Sure. I've got Timmy winning once again, but once again, this is just nominations, not winners. But Timmy, this is his, honestly, maybe where he's the strongest.
Yes, I agree with you with Timothée Chalamet, number 1, especially if A Complete Unknown gets into ensemble. The one thing that I would look out for, because I do think this is going to be one of the voting bodies that aren't as in love with the Brutalist as others. I think Ralph Fiennes, because of Conclave's popularity, it will be an ensemble. He's a very popular actor. I think this could be, if he's going to stage a place to gain momentum, it will be here. He could take it from Timmy.
Maybe. It's not super showing. I just feel like Fiennes isn't in contention for a win really anywhere besides maybe BAFTA, in my opinion. I just feel like it's really down to Brody and Chalamet, in my opinion. And here, A Complete Unknown is more populous. It's obviously going to do much better at the box office. And it's Timothée Chalamet. He's a much bigger star. He's having a great year. Everyone has seen him throughout this entire year. He is mounting one of the best campaigns and like press tours of combating Dune and A Complete Unknown that has been seen ever. So I feel like as a particular voting body like this, that will appeal to them. And that top 4 is locked up pretty much everywhere.
Yep.
Then Glenn Powell for Hitman. I'm once again going with the Netflix factor and the star power. Like star power, Netflix, those are huge in getting you nominations here. So I'm sticking with him, and it's a showy performance.
Here's the thing. All right, so Glenn Powell has a certain level of star power, and then Netflix, boosts him up, right?
Okay. More.
Okay. You know who has so much star power that you don't even need Netflix?
Who?
Hugh Grant.
He's my number 6.
He's my number 5.
Yeah, he's gotten in he does well with both SAG and BAFTA. And I'm not sure if I'm willing to put Hugh Grant pretty much getting like what Critics' Choice, Golden Globe, BAFTA, and SAG. It's like what he ends up being the person who gets everything and misses the Oscar. I don't know. I feel like more people have probably seen Hitman because it was on Netflix and it came out earlier in the year than Heretic. And I do think Glenn Powell is much more on people's minds this year than Hugh Grant is Heretic. But I'm very tempted to do it still. He's great in that film, and he is Hugh Grant. It's either him or Sebastian Stan, I guess, for The Apprentice is possible.
I just think The Apprentice is too small for the enough SAG voters to get Sebastian Stan in there. And listen, it's the large voting body, so I don't know if all of them are on the side of that movie and therefore want to award it. That's also part of the conversation with SAG.
And people might vote for him for A Different Man as well. So who knows? And then Craig and Queer, that just doesn't make sense for this body. I still think he gets the Oscar, but here it doesn't make sense. Eisenberg for Real Pain doesn't either. And Andrew Garfield, that's how bad this category is. Andrew Garfield is a star.
I can see a crazy world where he gets in, though. That's one of those SAG things.
He is doing a press story. Like, he is out there for We Live in Time. So
I'm curious to see your number 5 for
in supporting actress.
Because I have a wide pick.
See. I think my number 5 might be, or my number 6 might be your number 5. But let's see. Here, I've got Saldana winning. I feel like, once again, in my opinion, she's just going to sweep the entire season. I think Grande will be a very close number 2, but I think Saldana is just going to sweep the entire season, especially because I think Perez is going to do great here. I have it winning ensemble, and like we said, you don't usually win ensemble without winning an acting award. It happens, but it's usually pretty rare. Grande could happen. Once again, when it comes to the most seen, like, huge box office films, she does win in those regards, and she is also a huge star. But I do also think there will be actors in there who are kind of like, this is, even though she's acted before, like, this is your first big, huge acting gig, that some people might be like, okay, let's give it to the acting veteran, the actor who has paid their dues, which is a thing in SAG, more so than Grande, who is kind of like a newcomer in a way. And then quality for The Substance, I feel pretty good about them liking The Substance overall, and she's doing surprisingly good so far, especially for someone who hasn't really been campaigning and getting nominated at these critics' places. And that is a two-handing film. She's a co-lead, even though all of these 3 are co-leads, even though they're in supporting. So I feel pretty good about her. Selena Gomez, Emilia Perez, that seems like, once again, Emilia Perez is going to do best here. And it's once again the Netflix factor as well. And she is a star. And Daniel Deadwyler, getting in for the pianist, and I'm not confident about that at all. But I feel like she's maybe got to get in somewhere. And once again, I'm continuing to use the Netflix factor in her favor.
Maybe she can get nominated for Carry On.
And the last look at the last 2 August Wilson adaptations got acting wins here with Viola Davis, Chadwick Boseman, and Denzel Washington.
But those movies,
the Oscars.
Yeah, but those movies were in. Fences was nominated for Best Picture. Ma Rainey was in contention for that. The Piano Lesson is nowhere near.
No, I know. I'm just saying actors in particular have more of an affinity than any other voting body to go for an August Wilson performance.
No, which is why I don't know why I thought my number 5 was going to be crazy. When I looked at it, I was like, oh, this is not. And my number 5 is Isabella Rossellini, and I think Daniel Deadwyler might be a more fitting person to put in 5. I just tend to think that this category is trending very young, and I feel like we're gonna want to see an older actor in the mix here among the voters. So I think I'm gonna stick Rossellini at 5 with a very strong contender in Deadwyler maybe at 6, because I do think could be the one place where the piano lesson does well. Same conversation with
a different person.
I think Ariana Grande is at number 1, especially among SAG voters. I think they're really going to respond to her. She obviously has a lot of fans. I think she really proved herself. It is a dramatic performance, a comedic performance, a musical performance. It is all of the above. And I think it's the more shocking, the more surprising, and the more endearing movie that she makes you cry multiple times, and she makes you laugh throughout. So I have Grande at 1, Saldana at 2, and then Selena Gomez at 3. I think she's, again, really surprising people, and it's a great performance. She's necessary for that movie to work. And I have Felicity Jones at 4, just because I think that Margaret Qualley, I'm just not really buying into long term. I think the critics groups, the people who have 6 spots, maybe have room for her, but I don't think she is as solidified as you think she is. And I think Felicity Jones, being like The Brutalist, there's going to need to be some, prestige-y, pretentious, for lack of a better word, nominees among the SAG people. And I really like The Brutalist.
There have to be.
I think so. We're not, again, I feel like we can't, there is variety among their nominations. they do throw in stuff that's, not all of the same. Like, there are going to be different sort of SAG voters that show up within these nominations. And so I think, a lot of these look very similar to me. So that's why I'm looking for the stuff that looks different. What is your, because they do go for, they're not, again, totally populist.
But when they go to more of the like prestige things, it's usually because they're huge contenders, like the Brutalist. But even then, the Brutalist, I do worry once again, it's a December release, is very hard to see even right now for people. Right now, it's still just in New York and Los Angeles, and there has been screener issues.
I think it speaks more to my confidence, my lack of confidence in the other contenders, and my confidence in Felicity Jones. But I'm gonna keep her in there because I just don't see quality happening. But it could.
I don't know if I see quality happening at the Oscars, but I have her pretty much getting in everywhere, so maybe I should. I just feel like here in particular, the Substance is going to do well, and I feel like that it's a two-hander between the two of them. And she's great, and she's I feel like she's.
You might talk against it because it might be a SAG thing. It might be like they might. I just don't know if the Substance is going to be that well regarded among the broadness of SAG. So,
it's been thus far. I feel like
we don't know with SAG. We have no idea how SAG is responding to the movie. I mean, it didn't show up on as many shortlists as we wanted at the Oscars, but it overperformed at Golden Globes. It didn't do as well as we thought it should at Critics' Choice. It's ebbing and flowing. So we thought it was.
What it does get in is the actors, the people who are showing its support is above the line with the.
But again, have we had a ceremony yet where they have a firm 5? I will grant you that Quali is your 6, maybe, and Danielle Deadwell is 7, but I don't know if she's 5. And that's the.
I don't think I'm going for Rossellini here, but neither Jones or Rossellini do I have in here. Obviously, we can go on to the next slide, but I just feel like neither of those feel like SAG picks for me. Those feel like people who bet, because you can do 5 for 5 with SAG and then the Oscars in most of these categories. SAG usually misses 1 or 2 that end up at the Oscars, and those feel like performances that miss SAG and then end up at the Oscars. In terms of the
tastes. You've talked me into Quali at 5. I'll take Rossellini out, but I'm going to keep Felicity Jones.
No, that's fair. I can totally see, because Felicity Jones is a showy performance too. But yeah, and then number 6 is ahead of Felicity Jones. I do have Monica Barbaro for a complete unknown, because once again, that is a huge box office hit. She is the second, I would say, even though someone else might get nominated before her, the second most talked about performance in that film. And she's playing a real life person, which actors love. And she's singing, actors love all that sort of stuff. And he was.
So I would nominate Elle Fanning before her if we're picking.
Yeah, if we're picking, I would probably still lean Barbaro, and I feel like in general that is where like the awards buzz is leaning. Even though Fanning did win, I think NBR supporting actress earlier.
Yeah.
So I think they will end up splitting votes, and neither of them will get in at the Oscars. But I think this is the best shot that one of them has at getting in when it comes to SAG. And I feel like Barbara, because she's playing a real life person and has been getting more notice.
I think the one that's not on your list that I think people should look out for, just because it would be like this crazy thing that they do, is Saoirse Ronan for Blitz. I don't know why. There's like a 1% I feel in my head where that happens, because I feel like that plays to SAG voters probably better than anybody else, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I just feel like there's an abundance of other options that I don't think that's going to happen for her here. We already talked about Jones Russ. I really want Ellis Taylor to get in here, but Ellis Taylor really reminds me of a lot of the other performances that just get like a Critics' Choice nomination and then an Oscar nomination. Like, they don't really appeal to SAG or BAFTA, but they still end up like Brian Tyree Henry just got Critics' Choice and then an Oscar nomination. I feel like Nickel Boys will perform best at the Oscars compared to any other voting body, so that's why I don't have it here. Then Leon, once again, star and in a Netflix film, even though it's a lesser seen film, but it's possible. Who knows?
I got it this year because it was September.
Oh my God. I know. I've already got 3/5 of this category being Netflix, so I'm not going to do 4. So yeah, anything else?
Let's go.
Let's do
it.
Kieran Culkin. I still have him winning here as well as at the Golden Globes. I'm not confident about either of them, but I just do feel like that's the kind of performance that, and the kind of film in general that SAG in particular would go for rather than Guy Pearce and The Brutalist. It's one of those two who is going to win. I don't see a world where Denzel pulls fences and ends up winning for Gladiator. Edward Norton will be happy to get in for a complete unknown. And then I do, even though I have Sing Sing missing ensemble, I do still have Macklin getting in here, which kind of speaks to the alternatives I don't feel super strong about. And I feel like
about Jeremy Strong?
Hello, Jack from the future here. I actually changed my mind on this category. I was looking at not having Sing Sing and Ensemble and still having the two actors. It's like that doesn't quite make sense. And then I was looking at the other contenders. I was really thinking about Jeremy Strong. Again, something about him and his performance in that film reminded me of like previous nominees in this category who like just got SAG, kind of like Jared Leto for House of Gucci and that Little Things movie, Eddie Redmayne for The Good Nurse, Jamie Foxx for Just Mercy, Steve Carell for Battle of the Sexes. Something about him is giving those vibes for me. Either him, I guess, it's Tucci and Conclave, maybe O'Connor in Challengers, but I don't. Usually, it's a more like veteran actor that they do this for, and I don't know. I just didn't feel like going with my Oscar 5 there, and something about Jeremy Strong just is sticking out to me as like, that is making sense, even though I don't have a complete explanation for it. I can kind of see it. So that was a little change there, a little update. Enjoy the rest.
I think he would probably be my 6, maybe my 5, if Clarence Macklin starts to falter. So we'll see. But I agree on the top 4, and I agree this is where Kieran Culkin I think has the best chance of winning. Other than once the industry starts voting, I think this is the only place where I think he could win. But I mean, Guy Pearce could if it starts to be the sort of like groundswell thing where it happens everywhere. We're just checking off the box. So we shall see.
I see Guy Pearce, if he ends up winning, being the guy who ends up winning just BAFTA and maybe one other thing, and then the Oscar. I like SAG. Doesn't fit.
Kieran just is coming off a very popular television show,
and he's on a press tour, which Guy Pearce is not.
So, yeah, it could be very dangerous if Kieran wins. Maybe he wins the Globe, maybe he wins Critics' Choice, and then he wins SAG. All eyes to BAFTA then. So very interesting.
Yeah, and BAFTA will be the closest thing to the Oscars this year. I think it's usually SAG. So interesting stuff all around. And our last little grouping here, Yuri Borisov. Lots of people have him getting in pretty much everywhere, and then at the Oscars, I'm still very wary about him getting in anywhere at all, honestly, especially here, because he's not. You have to pick. You cannot have a world where you have both Yura and Clarence in your top 5 here because they're newcomers.
Yeah,
this is their breakout performance, and you could say Honora is the much stronger film than Sing Sing, which would make sense. Honestly, I think you can just pick between those two. I do think Macklin is a showier performance than Borisov, and when I talk to actors who have seen Honora, they talk about 2 or 3 other performances before they go to Borisov. And then when I talk to film people, fans, directors, people on the other side, they go to Borisov earlier than the actors I've met have. And I do think when you talk about Sing Sing, Macklin's honestly maybe for a lot of people I talk to the first thing you bring up, just because that story behind his performance and being an actual real life part of the program is so interesting. I think
if Bailey gets in, that would be crazy. That would be so fun.
It would be crazy, but like you said, this is where Wicked is the strongest.
Yeah.
So, and it's a good performance. It's he sings, he dances. He doesn't really get emotional, but you don't really need to do that. With Jeremy Strong for The Apprentice is possible. Once again, I don't think that will be a seen enough film. He is, like you said, with Culkin off of a strong show. But I don't know. I don't feel great about that. We just mentioned Brian Tyree Henry for The Ironside. Once again, I don't think enough people have seen that film. There's a lot of love for Brian Tyree Henry out there. So, and it's a great performance, like you said. Then Josh O'Connor. We were talking about Zendaya. Lots of people have seen Challengers. It has been in the pop culture lexicon the entire year thus far. He's lots of people, including me, his favorite performance and favorite part of that film. And he's having a great year too. And he's going to be in Knives Out next year. So yeah, not that it helps at all. But yeah, I think he's definitely possible. Anyone who I'm missing, or is it? That's everyone.
I think we're good. So we do the stunts real quick.
Let's talk stunts. Dune is winning here, in my opinion. Gladiator 2, strong contender. Wicked, they're dancing, lots of choreography, that will happen. The Fall Guy, the whole thing about that film, even though it flopped, is all about the stunts. It's got two movie stars up in front, and there's also got people like Winston Duke. It's got Aaron Taylor Johnson, Hannah Waddingham in it, Seth Bushu. So it's got a great ensemble. Then Twisters, also great ensemble. Powell, Dave Jones, Anthony Ramos. It's all around the twisting stuff. And it was a big box office hit in America in particular. And this is an American governing body. Whereas Emilia Perez does have choreography, but I don't think that's the kind of thing that they're going to end up putting in there. And then Deadpool and Wolverine is a box office.
I mean, listen, The Irishman got in for Stunt Ensemble, didn't it? So if you're well regarded within them, maybe they just just put it in that category too. The only one I think
there's shootouts and stuff.
Yeah. The only one that I think are missing is Alien Romulus. I could see that popping in. But I like that top 5.
Maybe
I
could see Romulus, maybe. But
Yeah.
I just feel, I don't know. I feel like you maybe need a bigger star in your ensemble.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, I think that's it.
Okay, we've done it.
I really don't know what we're doing yet. I think this is because it's so at odds with we really don't know what's happening with the main awards, but even they have more logic shared between them than SAG just feels like sometimes like the ugly duckling of award shows, where it's like sometimes they could go so far afield, and sometimes not. Sometimes they predict they're right on the money. So I wonder what they're going to be this year.
Yeah, usually in at least one category they go 5 for 5, especially actor recently. But I don't think that'll happen to actor this year. And I think most categories will be 3 or 4 for 5. So we'll see. We'll see for sure. It's going to be an interesting race everywhere, but also at SAG. So comment your predictions down below. They'll be helpful in us figuring out what exactly we want to do. Like the video, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and stay tuned for more acting related videos coming soon.
Bye everyone.